Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll be right back with today's guest, but we want to give a shout out to our podcast partners, We Coach, the Florida Coaches Coalition, the Global Community of Women in High School Sports, and Vital Signs Wall of Fame. You've heard me say before, these are four great organizations you should add to your network. And now don't hit that fast forward button. Spend the next 4 minutes, take a listen to our podcast sponsorships. Again, these are all products that I've used as an AD or a coach. You should use them too. Here we go. We want to say thanks to Home Campus for their support of the podcast. Home Campus is the exclusive high school and state association information management platform for the Educational AD Podcast. And it's also your one-stop platform for scheduling, for student athlete eligibility and clearance, state association connecting, and so much more. As an AD, I used Home Campus every day, and I just loved it. And our parents and our coaches loved it too. And the Home Campus team was just great to work with. They'll do the same thing for you and your school. So go to home-campus.com to get signed up. That's home-campus.com. We also want to thank Gipper. Go to gipper.com. See how athletic directors are creating world-class content for their school's social media channel. Mention the podcast and you'll get a big discount. That's gipper.com. Create custom content for your school's social media channel. We also want to thank Huddle. Go to huddle.com and change the way you see the game. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches just loved the smart cameras, the analytics. The whole program gave our kids tools that they could use to achieve at the highest level. At Huddle, we believe in sports and teams believe in Huddle. Join the 6 million users. Turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to say thanks to Snap Mobile. Go to snapraise.com. Check out their entire suite of platforms, including SnapRaise. We use SnapRaise at our school. It was fantastic. Parents loved it, kids loved it, coaches loved it, and it worked. They helped schools just like yours and ours raise over $700 million. They even have a program where you can get your funding before you actually start your fundraiser. So go to snapraise.com. Get started today. That's snapraise.com. We also want to say thanks to Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com, schedule a live web demo, see their tables and their boards in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made as an AD. That's sidelineinteractive.com. We also want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. Go to hometownticketing.com. They're going to show you how to set up and sell your tickets online, how to scan the attendees that come to your games, collect your revenue, and also you'll get a dedicated client success manager to provide hands-on support every step of the way. That's every step of the way. Go to hometownticketing.com and get started. Simple and easy online ticketing. We also want to say thank you to District 1. Go to District 1, that's WON, and check out the best way to get uniforms. At District 1, they're going to offer you fully custom premium uniforms with on-time delivery in 20 business days or less. And you can order one at a time replacements, so you're never going to have to order a full set when you just need one or two. Go to district1.com. Click the Team Gear button and get your free quote. That's District 1, WON. You're going to feel like you've won with District 1. We also want to say thanks to Wall of Fame by Vital Signs. You know, their mission is simple: to bring your school's legacy to life. They're going to help you celebrate your school's diverse history, your proudest moments, and your top role models in athletics, academics, and the arts. They're also going to help you tell more compelling stories to showcase your school. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. That's vitalsignswalloffame.com. Mention you heard it on the podcast, you'll get a nice discount. vitalsignswalloffame.com. And we want to say thanks to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to help you create a custom survey for your athletic department, help you take the pulse of your parents and your student athletes. ADs usually only hear from the complainers, the 2%. And Athletic Surveys is going to connect you with everyone, the 2% and the 98% that love and support your program. And that's a tremendously valuable tool to have when you're talking to your superintendent, your school board, or that squeaky wheel parent. Go to athleticsurveys.com. Get started today. athleticsurveys.com. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. Our guest today is Alan Means. Alan is the Vice President of Coach Education for Glazier Clinics. If you're a coach listening or an AD, I can't believe that you haven't heard of or probably attended a Glazier clinic across the country. So we're excited to hear about Glazier today. Alan, welcome to the Educational AD Podcast.
Jake, thanks for having me and really appreciate what you do. I mean, anytime a coach or athletic director can be educated and can jump on one of these things, it's just a tremendous opportunity for them to grow in their profession. So thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you for those kind words. And again, I'm excited to have you on today to share, we'll get to that later, but to share some of the cool things that Glazier's doing in that area in coach and AD education. But we always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us that quick bio, where you were born, where you grew up, maybe take us up through your high school and college years. Then we'll take a break and then hear more about your career. But what's the Alan Means origin story?
Yeah, it's I would say it's a little unique, but I grew up. I'm looking at the map real quick, but along Lake Michigan. I grew up in West Michigan, so I grew up in a town called Whitehall, which is just north of Holland, north of Muskegon, if you're familiar with the area. So grew up in a small lake town, and really, I go back now, and it's just a gorgeous place right off Lake Michigan there, and just like everyone, I took it for granted, and now that I go back, I really enjoy my time there. So currently, I actually live in the Holland area, which is just southeast of Grand Rapids. So I grew up in Whitehall. I went to Whitehall High School and played basketball, football, and ran a little track there. But really had great experiences in athletics, and I've been a part of athletics since I was in first grade, and just really loved the team component of athletics. I loved competing. That's a huge one for me, and I can talk about this later, but that's a huge thing in your career as well, is to be a competitor. So graduated from Whitehall in 2005, and from there, I just had aspirations. Actually, this doesn't go along with my career path, but aspirations to be an athletic director at the high school level. And my first year of college, I spent a lot of time with the athletic director at Whitehall, which is the school I graduated from, and got some game and event experience. Went to community college my first year, Muskegon Community College, and then after that transferred to Grand Valley State University in West Michigan. And so from there, I think for about 3 years, I worked in the game and event operations at Grand Valley State, which really gave me an understanding of, how athletic departments work at the college level. And so that really interested me as well. And so I spent a lot of time there, running different events as a student assistant, and really enjoyed my time there. And so then transitioned into I needed to fulfill my internship at Grand Valley, and actually did it at Glazier. And so I can talk more about that as we go on here. But really, yeah, from growing up through my college years, I just had some great coaches, and so that really fueled my desire to continue on into a career in athletics. And it's just a passion that I've had my whole life, and now I've been away from college for about 14 years now, and still love being in athletics.
Glazier clinics, they're all about, sharing best practices, helping coaches get better. What are some experiences, maybe, I know I'm putting you on the spot here. What are some experiences from your own career, being coached, working with athletic directors that really stick out for you that, you try to, make sure those lessons are passed on through, the many people involved in Glazier clinics? Anything stick out for you?
Yeah, you just see how I've learned a lot from coaches. I mean, you just the coach mentality is very structured. They can speak well in front of people. They lead people well. They're competitors, and I've learned that over time at Glazier, and I'll talk about this in a little bit. But even my mentors are coaches, and so just I think being around people who are always striving to make you better on a daily basis, and yeah, so a lot of structural and organizational skills that I've learned, and then also I think the competitive factor is a huge factor as well. So yeah, I've learned a lot in those areas from coaches and ADs.
Yeah. Again, really appreciate you sharing that. Those are some of the cool experiences that, we do want to pass on to that next generation or the current generation of coaches. For our
Absolutely.
listeners, our guest today is Alan Means. Alan is the vice president of coach education for Glazier Clinics. We're going to hear a lot more about Glazier when we come back, but let's go and take our first break. This is the Educational AD Podcast. Please stay with us. We want to say thanks to Home Campus for their support. Home Campus is the official exclusive high school and state association information management platform for the Educational AD Podcast. It's also your one-stop platform for things like scheduling, student athlete eligibility and clearance, state association, connecting and networking, and so much more. As an athletic director, I used Home Campus every day, and it was just fantastic. And our coaches and our parents also loved it. The Home Campus team was just terrific to work with, and they'll do the same great job for you. To get started, go to home-campus.com. That's home-campus.com and get signed up today. Home Campus, check them out. Welcome back, everyone, to the Educational AD Podcast. We're speaking today with Alan Means. He's the vice president of coach education for Glazier Clinics. Alan, continuing with that background, your love of athletics, what path did it take you on after you left college that led you to your current position at Glazier?
Yeah. So funny story. I had to fulfill some internship hours through Grand Valley State, and knew about Glazier, and reached out and had started an internship with them, and they were based out of Colorado Springs. They still are. Sorry, we still are, I should say. But anyway, so I was living in West Michigan and went to the internship. And just in my head, I thought, hey, I'm going to do this internship and then fulfill it and then be home in a month or two and call it good. Would have, hopefully by the end of it, I've had some good experiences and call it good and start on with my athletic director path. So so got into the internship. I think it was May of 2009, and just spent the summer there in my internship, and it was unbelievable. I mean, being a part of a small business, and I'll talk about this in a little bit, but being a part of a small business, you can do a variety of things and get a variety of experiences. When you're part of a larger corporation, you might be in a role that you only um, work on specific focuses, and that's really what your internship might be, is just a really primary focus. But what I did in my internship, and I'll have to remember, it's been a while, but I did different things. I researched different programs, different organizations to see if they would be a good fit for Glazier. I worked in the speaker aspect of things. So we host several clinics around the country, and we have to this day between 700 to 1,000 speakers nationwide. And so I got some experience in that during the internship. And really, what happened out of the internship is I discovered that was my passion. That was what I was good at. I was good at researching who would be potential presenters for our clinics, and identify them, reach out to them, ask them if they want to speak, talk about what different topic areas they want to speak on, and build those relationships. And so I start that after the internship, I got hired on, and then my career started. And so really began focusing the speaker aspect of it. But at the same time, I'll talk about Chris in a little bit, but Chris Coughlin is our CEO, and he is so um, good about making sure that employees get a variety of experiences to see where they fit best in the organization. And so, even though I was getting speakers, I still we have a whole business to business side of our business. So we sell vendor space, we sell partnerships, different things like that. While I was getting speakers, I spent some time selling vendor tables at our clinics, and I spent another amount of time calling individual schools to see if they want to come to the clinics for the year. So individual selling, both vendors and coaches, and then also getting speakers to speak at the clinic. So I had a variety of experiences, and that just really opened up a lot of doors for me. But as the years went on, I really focused on the speaker role of getting content for our clinics nationwide. So on a given year, we'll have anywhere from 25 to, we've had 34, 35 clinics around the country, anywhere from Seattle to Orlando and LA to Boston. I mean, everywhere in between. So anyway, really found my my passion for organizing events, reaching out to speakers, and just setting schedules. So that grew into I also got experience in our organization of the operations side of things. So we ship equipment to clinics and keep track of that shipping around the country, and then we have staff who come in and volunteer to work at our clinics. So managing our staff at each individual location. So sort of the operations part of things. So to this current day, what I do is I oversee the speakers at our clinics nationwide, and then I also oversee the operations of our events nationwide, and really anything. Oh, and then also digitally, we have digital content around the country for football coaches, and also we could talk about Glazier Academies in a little bit, but coaches of all sports. And so I manage all the content creation for that as well. So it's I would say the thing that I've learned to love the most about what I do is the relationships, and love talking to the coaches and deciding what content they're going to cover whether it's at the clinics or online, and yeah, that's where I am today, and just and 14 years later, When I thought I would just be at that internship for a month or two, I'm here and I've grown a ton and really have enjoyed my experience.
Yeah, as our ADs are listening, yeah, many of them have gotten to serve in the role for their state as a
Mhm.
their state AD conference coordinator, and putting it all together. You're doing that,
Yeah,
way more frequently. Um,
yeah.
What's let me say this. What's your favorite part of that? Is it, working with speakers, the various vendors? Is it the whole is greater than the sum of the parts? What's your favorite part if you can put your finger on one thing?
I so we hold all our events January through March, our in-person events. Um, so it's kind of the worst part of it and the best part of it. So what happens is we have, like I mentioned, anywhere from 7 to 1,000 speakers nationwide. And when you have that many people, issues are bound to happen. I mean, weather happens, flights get canceled. So we do everything in our power to replace that speaker who canceled with another speaker. And so I've gotten just calls the night before, the hour before, the 2 hours before somebody is supposed to speak, and trust me, there are just things that happen that nobody can control. And so it used to really bother me early in my career because I was a perfectionist and I wanted everything to be great about the event. But when it comes down to it, you take the resources that you have and the relationships that you've made and you fill in that spot and just do the best you can. And that part can be difficult, but it's so rewarding. And when you fill in, when you walk into an event or walk into a clinic and you see coaches just networking and having fun and just enjoying each other's camaraderie, all that stuff doesn't matter anymore. You've replaced the speaker. Everyone's just having a good time, and that's really what it's about, is the coaches attending the clinic and making sure that they get from it what they want. And you feel like, I'm kind of getting into different things here, but you just see the satisfaction of the coaches at the event, and you're like, okay, everything turned out okay. We're good. But it's really like the fast paced nature of filling in those canceled speakers,
Right.
and just knocking things off your to do list. I mean, that's really what drives me and gets me excited, is seeing all that work out.
And that's very much like the life of an AD, with individual game events and tournaments and things like that. Absolutely, that problem solving and hey, let's make it work. Okay,
Yep.
very cool. Once
Oh,
again, for our listeners, our guest today is Alan Means. Alan is the vice president of coach education for Glazier Clinics. We're going to take a little deeper dive into that in a later segment. Let's go and take another break. We'll be right back. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to Gipper for their support. Gipper is the official social media graphic solution for the Educational AD Podcast. And if you go to Gipper.com, you're going to see how athletic directors and coaches are creating world-class marketing content for their school social media channels. Kids today are on social media, and if you're not creating posts to celebrate your athletes, your teams, your coaches, even yourself, you're really missing out. Go to Gipper.com, mention the podcast, and you'll get a nice discount. That's Gipper.com. Create custom content for your school's social media channel. We also want to say thanks to Huddle. Go to Huddle.com and change the way you see the game. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years and it was just fantastic. But when I became an athletic director, I made sure our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches just loved the tools that Huddle provided to help our teams, our athletes, perform at their very best. At Huddle, we believe in sports and teams believe in Huddle. Join the 6 million users. Turn your school into a Huddle school. Welcome back, everyone, to the Educational AD Podcast. Alan, one of my favorite parts of the podcast is where our guests get to share some of the mentors that they've had. None of us get to where we're at on our own. So, who are some of the people that have helped you along the way?
Yeah. Yeah, I have three solid. I can't say enough how many people have helped me over the years in different roles. I mean, it's just unbelievable the people that get put along your path and really, whether it's personal or professional, really help you through. But I have three people in mind, and first and foremost, it's my dad. He taught me at an early age work ethic and being detail oriented, and making sure that you do what you say you're going to do. I would say those are the biggest things that I've learned from him, which I've used my whole life, my whole career. So that's really where things started off. Then, from a career standpoint, Chris Coughlin, the CEO at Glazier, he hired me on for the internship, and then hired me on after the internship as well. But really mentored me from all aspects of the business, but really to having a business. He's very smart business wise. So anything from marketing to selling an idea, to making a product better, by just instinct. I've learned that from him over the years, but he's really helped me along with really learning and understanding our business and our clinics, and understanding how people work as well, has been extremely valuable. And then third, Bruce Cobley. He passed away in 2017, but he worked for Glazier. So Glazier started in the late 1970s, actually, and he worked from Glazier pretty close. I want to say he worked for Frank Glazier, who started the Glazier clinics in the late 1970s. So he worked for Frank Glazier. Then Chris bought the Glazier clinics and kept Bruce on. But Bruce was entrenched in the speaker and content aspect of Glazier clinics, and really mentored me in that area of building relationships with speakers and coaches around the country, really understanding how coaches think, because Bruce was a coach for many years. I want to say in the ballpark of around 40 years, he was a football coach. Don't quote me on that, but it's somewhere around there. And then because not everyone at Glazier is a coach or has a coaching background. So Bruce really instilled that in me, and really built a great relationship with him, and he helped me along in my career. So I owe a lot to him. But anyway, those are the three main ones. And like I said, there's people all over the country that have helped me through my career and really given me some good insight on things. But I would say that's the core.
As someone who's involved, your career is coach education. How do you see, and I know I'm sneaking up on our main topic here, but how do you see Glazier clinics helping in that role of mentoring young coaches?
Yeah. So we when we build our clinics, we try to have a variety of topics and a variety of coaches with different experiences around the country who speak at our events. And so we'll have We'll have NFL coaches that'll speak. We'll have college coaches that'll speak. We'll have high school coaches that'll speak from all different levels and all different experiences and backgrounds. And so I think one of the greatest things about our clinics is that um, people get the opportunity to go up and talk to the speaker afterwards and build those relationships. So I hear of stories all over the country um, of young coaches building relationships with older and more experienced coaches, and they really, and I mean, to speak at our events, you are invested in the next generation of coaches. You're invested in the coaching profession, and you're helping make it better. And so I see situations like that happen all around the country where older coaches or even younger coaches invest in the next generation. And then also, as I've alluded to before, we have Glazier Academies, which we have it structured into 4 different academies now. It's called New Head Coach, Advanced Head Coach, Advanced Assistant Coach, and New Assistant Coach. And there's 4 different academies. And it really educates those coaches and what we say, like the CEO aspects of being a head coach or an assistant coach. So more of the off the field items. And so we have that, and really we have some great coaches who put out that content, and they just want to see they just want to help the next generation of coaches get better and really speed up their years 5 or 10. I mean, give them the experience that they had, the speakers giving the listeners the experiences that they've had and the mistakes that they've made, and try to help them avoid those mistakes so that young coaches can watch that content and just speed up the process and be as an effective coach as possible.
Yeah, and that's going to be a great transition into our next segment. We're going to talk about some of the cool things that Glazier is doing now, specifically in coach education. So let's go and take another break. Once again, for our listeners, we're visiting today with Alan Means. He's the Vice President of Coach Education for Glazier Clinic. So let's take that break, and we'll be right back. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to thank Snap Mobile for their support of the podcast. Go to snapraise.com. Check out their entire suite of platforms that are designed to help you as an athletic director do your job better. There's Snap Connect, Snap Manage, Snap Store, and of course, there's Snap Raise, their fundraising platform. We used it at my school with great success, and so can you. They've helped schools just like ours raise over $700 million. Go to snapraise.com. They even have a program where you can get your funding before you actually start your fundraiser. I don't think anybody else offers that. Once again, go to snapraise.com. Get started raising money with SnapRaise today. We also want to say thanks to Sideline Interactive indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and schedule a live web demo to see their tables and their scoreboards in action. Their products not only generate income for your department, they also create the ultimate game day experience for your student athletes. That's sidelineinteractive.com. Check them out today. Hey, welcome back, everyone, to the Educational AD Podcast. Our guest is Alan Means, the Vice President of Coach Education for Glazier. Alan, we talked about at the very beginning, Glazier clinics have been around for a long time. I've gone to them before. I'm sure many of our listeners have attended as well. And the clinics are still happening all across the country. But recently, you introduced a new program called Glazier Academies. Talk a little bit about, the clinic experience, remind our listeners how important that is. And then let's go ahead and let them know, if they're not aware of, exactly what Glazier Academies is and how they can get signed up along with their coaching staff.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll talk, like you mentioned, I'll talk about our clinics a little bit. So we, lately we'll have anywhere from, over the years, I think I said we had 25 to 35, but right now we have somewhere around 24 to 30 or so in-person coaching clinics around the country. And what you can see at a typical clinic is we typically have over 100 sessions that coaches can attend throughout a weekend. So that's Friday, typically Friday through Sunday morning. And we have a bunch of different topic areas that meet most programs' needs. I mean, we try to cover a lot of offensive schemes, defensive schemes, individual position fundamentals and drills, culture, leadership, special teams, everything under the sun. If you're that would probably be of interest to your football coaches. But we have what's called a staff season pass, and that's typically what a staff will purchase for a year. So they can have, so coaches can have the opportunity to attend the clinics, any clinic nationwide under that staff season pass, plus have access to all of our football content online, which is called Glazier Drive. Glazier Drive is the main umbrella, but we have a football portion of Glazier Drive that coaches can watch a lot of, again, X's and O's, program culture type of topics. But we also have Glazier Academies under Glazier Drive as well. And a lot of people know this, but when they buy a staff season pass, they get access to Glazier Academies. And that's also accessible to all the coaches in their school as well, from different sports. So not just football, but different sports as well. And so athletic directors just know that if your football program has a staff season pass, and they also have access to Glazier Academies. But Glazier Academies covers a lot of different areas. We have the head coach portion of it, which is, what's your program philosophy? How do you conduct, or how do you prepare for a head coach interview with an athletic director? What do you do your first 30, 60, and 90 days on the job? What are the first things that you need to do? How do you involve your community into your program? How do you hire, and unfortunately have to fire assistant coaches? What do you do in those situations? How do you handle those situations? I'm just spitting off a bunch of things that are in Glazier Academies. How do you evaluate your program on a yearly basis? How do you self-evaluate your performance as a coach from the past year? We have all those different topic areas on Glazier Academies. How do you I don't like to use the word deal, but how do you manage the parent relationship, and how do you use them in your program the best way possible? Because they're a great asset. How do you use them in the best interest of the program? How do you fundraise for your program? So everything, I mean, I want to say our head coach portion of it has over 30 different modules of just different topics like that, that coaches can watch, and they're in shorter video segments that you can just progressively move from one to another. And athletic directors, you can also see, you also have a dashboard where you can see your coach's progress watching these videos. So it's great for coaches that have been around for a long time, but it's also great for the new head coach. So and new assistant coach. So we've made it for everyone. But anyway, Jake, that's just a little bit about, the some of the things that coaches might not know that they get by just attending a clinic. They already get it if they've attended a clinic. But again, they have a bunch of different topic areas throughout an entire weekend at an in-person clinic, but also we like to call it 24/7, 365. We just have opportunities all year for coaches.
Well, we'll do this again at the end of the podcast, but if one of our listeners wants to find out more about the Glazier Academies program, or find out the schedule for Glazier Clinics, what's the best way for them to do that? Where do they go?
Yeah, best way is glazierclinics.com. We have it all on there, all of what they get with the season pass, and they can log into Glazier Drive through that as well. So that's where you find all the information. Then also follow our social media. We have Glazier Clinics on Twitter and Facebook as well.
Okay. Once again, we're not done yet, but we're visiting today with Alan Means. He's the Vice President of Coach Education for Glazier Clinics. We've been talking about Glazier Academies. We're going to take another break, but we're coming back. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to thank Hometown Ticketing for their support. Hometown Ticketing is the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. And if you go to hometownticketing.com, you're going to find out how to sell your tickets online for all your events, how to scan the attendees that show up, definitely how to collect your revenue. And every step of the way, you're going to have a dedicated client success manager providing you hands-on support. That's every step of the way. Go to hometownticketing.com and get started today. Simple and easy online ticketing. We also want to say thanks to District 1. I want you to go to District 1, that's WON, and check out their custom premium uniforms that you can get in 20 business days or less. And you can also order one at a time replacements. So you're never going to need to replace a full set of uniforms when you just need one or two. Stop dealing with late deliveries. Go to District 1, that's WON, and you're going to feel like you've won. Click the Team Gear button for your free quote. That's district1.com. Also, we want to say thanks to Wall of Fame by Vital Signs. You know, their mission is to bring your school's legacy to life. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check out their interactive touchscreen video consoles that allow you to celebrate your school's diverse history, your proudest moments, and your top role models in athletics, academics, and the arts. If you mention the podcast, you're going to get a nice discount. That's vitalsignswalloffame.com. vitalsignswalloffame.com. Welcome back, everyone, to the Educational AD Podcast. Alan, you and I were talking during the break, and I think our listeners could really benefit from, some of the why and the what of the Glazier Clinic and the Glazier Academy's experience. So, what are some things that really stick out for you that are compelling reasons for an AD or a coach to either go to a Glazier Clinic in person or take advantage of the programs through Glazier Academies?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jake. And we pride ourselves on the X's and O's. And what I mean by that is on field or on court or whatever education. We like Glazier Academies, we completely understand the importance of off the field as well. And so we are very passionate about that. But one thing that makes us really unique is that at our clinics, you'll notice that a speaker will go into depth on their topic area. So they don't just speak 50 minutes and then leave. Some of them will, and those are kind of one-off topic areas, but that's very rare. A lot of times a speaker will come in and speak 3 different 50-minute sessions on the wing tee offense or on the flex bone offense or on the spread offense or whatever it is. They go into depth on that topic area. And so when a coach comes to our events, they will sit in from 1:30 p.m. on Friday afternoon till 4:50 p.m. on Friday afternoon and hang out with a wing tee crowd and be able to take a lot of notes and learn a lot from that coach. And what I love most about our events is the relationships that are built. I think I mentioned this earlier, but I hear of stories all the time where, and we actually have speakers who build relationships with each other too, because they see each other at events around the country and they stay in touch throughout the years. But they get an opportunity to go into a room for 3 consecutive sessions, and it's not repeat sessions, it's in-depth sessions on that topic area. So that's, and also you could go to a wide receiver coach and go into depth on stance and start and releases and route technique and route breaks and catching techniques. And oh man, they go into depth on, again, 3 50-minute sessions of wide receiver play. And so that we also transition that into our digital platform as well. We go into depth there. You can find a few different sessions from the same speaker into depth on a different topic area. We also have on Glazier Drive our football section of it, which are called our systems section. So what systems mean is an in-depth look on that coach's offense, defense, or their fundamentals. And so, we have systems that will have 15 to 30 different modules just in that topic area. And we're all about depth and what you do in this situation in the wing T offense, what you do in this situation when you're a wide receiver or a quarterback. I mean, we have them in all different areas. So again, to reiterate, to not create confusion, we have individual videos on Glazier Drive for our football coaches, but we also have systems as well. And the systems are what really go into depth on their topic area. So yeah, Jake, I just I just can't reiterate enough just the importance, especially in the game of football, just because it's you have 22 individuals on the field, and there's just a lot of scheme and different things happening at the same time within 4 seconds of a play, that coaches need to go into that amount of depth.
Yeah. Again, I was on the website recently for Glazier Academies and was just really impressed with the variety and the depth of the topics that were out there. So, again, for our listeners, glazierclinics.com, glazierAcademies.com. You really need to check it out and see everything that's out there. Alan, this has been really cool spending some time with you, getting to know you a little bit and hearing more about Glazier. But we're not done yet. We always wrap up with the athletic director toolbox segment. And now you're not an athletic director, but you certainly know your way around the world of athletics. And we're going to take our final break. When we come back, I'm going to challenge you to send out a brand new athletic director on their very first job, but I'm only going to let you put 3 things in their toolbox. So let's take our final break. We're going to hear from Athletic Surveys, who sponsor this segment. And when we come back, we're going to find out what Alan Means is going to put into his new athletic director toolbox. Please stay with us. We want to say thanks to Athletic Surveys for sponsoring the toolbox segment. Athletic Surveys are a quick, easy, and affordable way for you to collect comprehensive data that allows you to evaluate and improve your entire athletic program. ADs usually only hear back from the complainers, the 2% that want to gripe, and we need to hear back from them. But we also need to hear from the 98% that love and support our program, and that's where Athletic Surveys comes in. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a customized survey for your school that allows you to take the pulse of your parents and your student athletes. And that's a tremendously valuable tool to have when you're talking with that squeaky wheel parent or your principal or your school board. So go to athleticsurveys.com, see all the things that they can do for you. That's athleticsurveys.com. Well, it's that time of the podcast. We've been visiting with Alan Means, who's the Vice President of Coach Education for Glazier. He's not an athletic director, but he's been around the world of athletics for a while. So we're going to challenge him to send out a brand new athletic director, but I'm only going to let him put 3 things in that toolbox. So Alan, what 3 items are going to go into your new athletic director toolbox?
Yeah, good question. Thanks, Jake. And so I had a difficult time coming up with these because I kept putting some down and replacing them with others and all that, trying to keep them down to 3. But I'll add in a 4th here as we talked about earlier. But I would say learning over the years, the number one thing is your highest priority should be your people. So the people that work for you, that work with you, but also, and probably the most important, are your people at home. So your family, whether you have kids or your husband or your wife or whoever it is, they, I mean, their support is extremely important. So, so your people, so making sure that your people are in the right seats, that they're in a position to use their gifts, that you compliment them on those gifts. There's a whole different area that we could talk about on not only people utilizing their gifts, but making sure that they know about it and making sure that you're every once in a while telling them they're doing a great job or coaching them when they need to be coached up. So I would say people is number one. Number two is never stop seeking areas to grow. I've experienced this in my career that I've gotten stagnant in some points, and it's because I wasn't forcing myself to grow. And that's huge. I mean, whether you go to conferences and improve yourself at conferences, or a simple one is getting the next book and getting the next leadership book and really diving into that. And even if you pick one or two things out of it, then that's a success. But not only when you read books do you learn some stuff, but you just help yourself grow intellectually as well. And you just stay focused on making yourself better. And when you're better, you make everyone around you better. And that goes with my first item is people are your highest priority. And number three is never stop setting goals and timelines, and making sure you're on track with things, because we can always talk about different ideas we have, but until we put steps in place to make those ideas a reality, we'll never see those items come to fruition. So never stop setting goals and timelines, and never stop keeping yourself accountable for those timelines. So and then also number four, as I mentioned in the number two, is seeking areas to grow. I think a new athletic director should have access to Glazier academies, and that we in Glazier academies, I think it's something crazy. Like the coaches that are involved in teaching the academies have somewhere around 40 to 60 years of experiences between them all. So they just share a lot of insight and knowledge on, what a new, so you have different coaches that you're hiring as an athletic director. You're hiring new and experienced head coaches, and we have stuff for them on that. And I mentioned that a little earlier in the podcast, but we also have educational items for new assistant coaches. So that's really common. I mean, there's a head coach that has to hire an assistant coach who might not have any experience. And so we have several videos for that coach as well, who doesn't have any experience coaching and who need to, it's not fundamental in technique and X's and those items, but it's more off the field on leadership, culture, different areas of like that for brand new assistant coaches. And so, what do you do with that coach who has never had an interaction with a parent before? How do you help them? And so as an AD, having access to that and being able to give it to your coaches, I think is a great tool.
Oh, yeah. You probably saw me writing all those down as you were sharing them. Love the part about family and taking care of your people and, being a lifelong learner. And of course, any opportunity to improve yourself, particularly with Glazier Academies. Thanks so much for sharing, Alan. One more time, if one of our listeners wants to find out more about the Glazier experience or even reach out and pick your brain, what's the best way that they can do that?
Yeah. So to reach out to me personally, my email address is ameans@glazierclinics.com. And you can, I'm on Twitter as well, Alan Means. You can look me up and ask me any questions you want. more than happy to help you and help steer you in the right direction. But also, glazierclinics.com has our season pass on there. It also has our 2024 cities and dates aren't out yet, but they'll be out in the next month or two. It'll have that, and then everything else that's included in that staff season pass that I mentioned. And again, the staff season pass, we haven't set the price for it this year, but it's typically around $400 or $500. So for your entire football program plus all the coaches in your school to have access to Glazier Academies, it's a pretty low price to have that year-round access, to attend any of our clinics nationwide, have access to Glazier Drive, which has the football content, and also Glazier Academies. We want to get the word out to coaches of other sports and to athletic directors that they have access to Glazier Academies. And if their football coaches attended a Glazier clinic this year, that means that they have access to Glazier Academies. So getting that word out as well. But yeah, glazierclinics.com is the best place to find that information.
Well, Alan, thanks again for sharing. Once again, Alan Means from Glazier Clinics, Glazier Academies. Thanks so much for being on the podcast.
Thanks, Jake. Really appreciate your time.
Hey, for our listeners, we do this just about every day, and we upload the Zoom videos to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We appreciate you listening. Come back next time for more great content, and just about every day for new content on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time.